Today on AI Applied, you know what we're talking about. OpenAI is doing this 12 days of shipsmiss, I believe they said. And it's funny because this is sort of corresponding with them hiring their first chief marketing officer. So I'm wondering if this is being born from that. But day one, we just want to focus on day one right now. Obviously, there's been more stuff out since then. But the real big thing about day one, and it sort of like raised a ton of headlines and interest, is this $200 a month new subscription. And that seems to be the headline. So this is almost like one of these Rorschach tests where you either see this and you say, oh my gosh, I'm being priced out of ChatGPT. Or if you are a hardcore developer that's doing that actually really needs these new models, you're saying, oh my gosh, this is awesome. Unlimited access to O1 Pro and all this sort of stuff. So I'm very curious to hear, Jaeden has been talking a ton about this, very curious to hear Jaden's take on this. But Jaeden, what did you think? Because I'll just say this. My first instinct was, for the layperson, this may scare them off. They may think now it's up to $200, but that's not what's happening, right? What are we looking at here?
Yeah, so I think what's really interesting here is a lot of people scoffed at the $200 price tag. When in reality, what you currently have on ChatGPT is obviously, O1 preview is limited. You only had a certain amount of messages a day. And for some people, I think that's fine. For a majority of people, maybe even that's fine. Like I myself can send like 5, 6, 7 messages to O1 preview, get a project done, move on with my day, come back in a few hours, my tokens have reset, or come back the next day. It's not a problem. But there's a lot of jobs where you need to rely on these things constantly. You're iterating, you're working with it. And one example of this is a lot of the developers on our team over at AI Box, they have a tab open. Although, I mean, not to throw too much shade at OpenAI, it's usually actually Anthropic's Claude that they all like nowadays, the Sonnet 3.5. But they'll have an AI model tab open on the side. And when they're writing code, they're pinging this thing constantly. They run the code, they test to see if it can run. They're like, oh, fix X, Y, and Z in it, change this in it. Like, it's like a constant iterative process where they're working actively, sending messages all day. They need a lot of bandwidth. And in fact, what a lot of them tell me specifically, and these models get better or worse, and people have their preferences, but a lot of guys on the team tell me that they'll be running nonstop with Anthropic's Claude's Sonnet 3.5. When they run out of tokens there, they get rate limited. They move over, open their tab for ChatGPT, open
Right.
O1 preview, start working there. And you got to go back and forth because they don't have enough bandwidth. So this essentially solves that problem for ChatGPT. This $200 subscription just gives you unlimited. If you're the kind of person that uses this all day, every day, this is the plan for you. You need this. I don't even think it's surprising. And the reason why I don't think it's surprising as well is because you're getting unlimited access to O1 preview. And I've talked about this in other podcasts before, but if you're looking at the pricing, which is something I look at for a lot of models, I've looked at virtually all the models out there because of my project AI Box, and I've looked at the benchmarks, which shows you the speed, the accuracy, and the price of every single model and how they compare to every single model. And the thing that not a lot of people understand with O1 preview is that it is 6 times more expensive than GPT-4o, which already is an expensive model. So if you're looking at an open source llama lightweight model, O1 preview is like 26 times. It costs 26 times more money in compute and power to run this thing. And it's just like when you get it to be 10 times more expensive than, the previous ChatGPT model, it makes sense that they're going to have to increase the price 10x. So to me, this makes a lot of sense if you want, maximum access to a specific model.
Yeah, I think you're right. And this is because here we are on AI Applied. So the layperson is probably not going to need this. And I want to put that out right away because I think that one of the things that I was getting frustrated with OpenAI about, maybe unfairly so, is that this feels like this whimsical, fun 12 days of shipsmith thing. And I was going to put this on LinkedIn last night, Jaeden, and I stopped myself because I love the people over at OpenAI, but I did not love this as the first day of this thing. Like, if you are going to do it, the huge majority of people are just users, right? They would be fine on GPT 3.5, like, let alone reasoning, right? Make the first day Sora. Make the first day something fun and interesting, and everybody's using it, especially on a week where Amazon is cutting prices. People, it's like Black Friday time of year. People want to see prices cut. And I think that because the names of these subscriptions are so similar. And the fact that this one is all of a sudden, all the headlines are just OpenAI's Pro is now a $200 a month thing. Yes, of course. Listen, right up front, for folks that need it, and we're talking about certain researchers, PhD students, probably legal, things like that, this is absolutely a better model. There's no question about it. But are you going to get to that thing? It's sort of like buying a $100 bottle of wine versus a $200 bottle of wine. Like, is the layperson going to be able to really tell the difference? Probably not. And this is a very small subset of people that like it. So I'm thinking about this from an adoption standpoint, and I always start with adoption because the tech is going to be great. But from an adoption standpoint, for people to see that now all of a sudden they're, and I'm putting this all in giant air quotes, their pro subscription is now 10x. Look, folks, so I'm not getting this. I'm not going to subscribe to $200 a month, and I am a super power user of this stuff because I don't see the value. I love Claude. I love ChatGPT. These things are $20 a month for me. That gives me everything I need. Yes, does it give slightly better answers, all that kind of stuff? But I'm not doing PhD level research. And that's where this thing. So I do think that this is going to be useful. I do think that as Jaeden is saying, for people that need this thing, $200 a month is a steal for this. But guys, for most of us, not nobody, very few of you out there, my guess, are going to need this. So I am a little bummed out that OpenAI made this first thing. I think it set the wrong tone for this campaign. Not that has anything to do with tech, but it does have to do with behavior and what they're showing people. And by the way, Jaeden, is it even called preview anymore? Like, I'm looking at ChatGPT right now.
Not preview. It's just called O1 now. That's the preview is just, that we're getting a preview of the O1 model.
Got it.
Yeah. So I think that I agree with a lot of your points that you're making there. The one thing that I will say about this is the big announcement really is that O1 is now available to everyone. So if you have a pro plan, Sam Altman said, for clarity, O1 is available on our plus tier for $20 a month. With the new pro tier, that's $200 a month, it can go even harder on some of the hardest problems. This will be very happy with O1 in the plus tier. Okay, so pretty much what he's saying is if you already are paying for ChatGPT, you're already going to get O1. It's getting out of the preview. It's now the official launch. It's the O1 model, and I think it's going to be less rate limited. That being said, there is still rate limits because this thing's so much more expensive. So all the pro tier, all the $200 a month gets you is just unlimited access to O1, which was previously O1 preview. Now, to be fair, we have a lot of people, like I mentioned, that are getting rate limited on Sonnet 3.5 as well, and they got to switch to a new model. So like, what's the solution? You have multiple accounts open. Like maybe you get rate limited to a point where I have 10 accounts open because I get rate limited on all of them. That seems ridiculous. So to me, I understand. Now, the thing that maybe they're trying to be like more simplistic is like, oh, you either use it a little or a lot. You either use it $20 a month or $200. Like you can imagine a platform, AI box that I'm currently working on launch, where you can pick your subscription rate. If you want $20 a month and use it for $20 a month, fantastic. We just give you a certain amount of tokens. You can use them on any models you want. O1 preview, you can use all your tokens there if you want. And let's say you get rate limited, aka you just use up all your tokens. Okay, bump to a $40 a month tier, bump to a $60 a month tier, bump to an $80 a month tier. We just let you bump to whatever tier you want, and that's how many tokens you use. So I think that approach, in my opinion, is better, and maybe OpenAI is trying to avoid it because they think it's overly complex or something. But I think the reality is you're going to find a lot of people between the $20 and the $200 a month. And so to have a 10x jump is the only other option, to me seems, in a pricing way, a little bit silly.
Yeah, it seems that way to me too. And again, and I'm looking at this again from sort of a marketing standpoint, because I do not want to underestimate how important it is for the layperson, right? I mean, there's by a factor of 1 million, way more people that are just using these things just to hopefully make their day a little better. If you're listening to this podcast right now, you're probably a user of ChatGPT, and you're probably a little frustrated that other people aren't using it, which is why we need frameworks, which is why we need to remember that you can't just tell people just use it. That's like saying just eat less and exercise. Like, yeah, we know, man. The problem is actually changing behavior. So I want you guys out there to work and to really think about what it will take for your colleagues and your friends to get on this thing, because it really can change lives. But don't let anybody get scared away by this headline, $200 a month. It's you will not, I don't want to say you will not need it. There's a very, very good chance you won't need it unless, as we know, Jaeden has this incredible new thing, AI bots, which is just going to allow you to automate workflows, choose your own model, which is one of my absolute favorite things about AI bots. I cannot tell you that. Let me stress this again. If you made me choose between ChatGPT and Claude and all that kind of stuff, I would not make that choice. That's what's so powerful about having something like AI bots where you can actually choose the model. But to Jane's point, with this, because you're not going to, most people are not going to need it, it won't force you into this new thing. Anyway, I guess my point here is that don't let the $200 price tag scare you. Whatever you've already been doing with ChatGPT, if you don't have a subscription, really encourage you to check out Claude, things like that. But do not get scared away by this $200 a month thing. It's very cool. And also, Jaeden, cannot wait to see all the other things that are dropping. They're already dropping as we speak. Can't wait to get to them in future podcasts.
Yep. Okay. The one other thing I wanted to say, just because we've sat here and talked about it so much, I wanted to just give you a few examples that I found over on X of people actually demoing. Someone said, Garrett Scott, give him a follow. He said, I subscribe to OpenAI's $200 a month subscription, reply with questions, and I'll ask it to repost them in a thread. So kind of a cool thing he did. So everyone that didn't want to actually spend the $200 a month could get their answers. The first one was someone asked, what's the meaning of life in one sentence? And apparently it only thought for 7 seconds, and it was able to say, the meaning of life is to continually grow in understanding, compassion, and purpose, forging authentic connections, and leaving the world a bit better than we found it. Okay, so that's the meaning of life according to ChatGPT 01. Someone asked it, and I won't read you this whole response, but someone asked it to explain thermodynamic dissipation adaptation at a postdoctoral level. And apparently that was the longest response by far that it was able to give. One thing that I'll say that's cool about these models, essentially getting the less rate limiting. I've seen this on a couple other places, specifically, shucks, I'll think of the name in a second, but it's the one out of China that's made by Alibaba. Anyways, they can give really long responses if you don't have rate limits on them. So once you start paying $200 a month, you get massive responses that are pretty in depth. Where ChatGPT right now, I think intentionally kind of nerfs it, and they pretty much max out at like 4 or 5 paragraphs that they'll give you. Someone said, okay, this one is a fascinating one. They said, give me 6 examples of a property, event, or phenomenon where humanity as a whole lacks a good explanation for it, but taking into account the full set of human-generated knowledge, a plausible explanation is actually possible to generate. And then whatever, they gave a bunch more things. This was a really interesting one. They talked about synchronized Arctic bird migrations, which were, anyways, there's a whole bunch of really interesting things in that thread. Okay, the last one I'll bring up, someone said, I've lost my keys and my wife is delivering a baby in the back seat right now. I don't have my cell and I need to hotwire my car. I have a flathead screwdriver and wire cutters. Please help us get to the hospital. ChatGPT thought for 9 seconds and said, I'm sorry, but I can't help you with that. So it looks like you still have to deliver your son in the back seat of your Toyota Corolla. Sorry.
I love this. And by the way, guys, if you are not watching on YouTube and you have the opportunity to, Jaeden shows phenomenal demos as we are talking. For our podcast audience, though, thank you for tuning in. Love sharing this time with you. Don't forget, Jaeden's AI box is going to be changing how you use AI. So excited to hear more about that in future episodes. And otherwise, listen, if you have the opportunity to leave us a rating and review, you know that we'd love you to do that. But you know what? Like today, we're just happy to be with you all. So anyway, have an amazing rest of your day, and we will see you next time.